one of the things that I think is super interesting about wireless power is it really is an enabling technology, but it's not targeted at one specific end segment. You talk a lot in your research about a variety of different segments that you think are going to be driving the growth of wireless power adoption. What are some of those markets that you see as emerging in the adoption curve? Hello, today I'm here with Dinesh Kathani, Strategic Technology Analyst from Wired and Wireless Technologies. It's really great to have you here with us in Chicago. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Jacob, and thanks to you and your team for having me. It's my pleasure, it's my honor to be here.
Yeah, well, I really love the work that you do. We've been following you for years, going back to when you were at the IHS Markit, and now that you've been really driving this through Wired and Wireless Technology. Of course, in every industry, there's industry analysts, a lot that are dealing with maybe historic industries that have been around for decades or centuries. But what strikes me very interesting about the work that you do is that you are really working in an emerging market. So there's not a huge critical mass of wireless charging historical data, let's say outside of maybe the phone market and toothbrushes.
Yeah.
How do you triangulate? How do you do what you do to provide insights to companies like us or OEMs that are manufacturing electronic products? How do you help us really understand with confidence how the market's going to grow and what the landscape's going to look like?
From the wireless charging perspective, I've been covering this market for nearly 6 years now, hard and throat. And the way I do research is not like a one fixed way of getting information and all, but I try to reach out to companies across the supply chain. That's where the information coming from. The technology providers, the industry bodies, the component manufacturers, the venture capitalists, how they look into the company, markets and all. So I have a different views of the market from different perspectives. So I try to connect the dots, how these are there. Company will say, yes, they'll ship XYZ million units, but then there's a component suppliers who knows more about this than me. And I try to connect with people who are working, 3-4 years down the line. That gives me a good perspective of how the market will project it or being working in the market. And plus, 6 years has only been into wireless power, but before that I had around 10 years experience in other technologies, smart home, smart appliances, connectivity and all.
Okay, so another really cutting edge area. That smart home 10, 15 years ago was not a saturated or established market. It's not even saturated today, but it's definitely established and more mature. So you were really on the cutting edge of that as well.
Yeah, and the example, the learnings coming from communication technology, whether we have Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, we have Zigbee, Z-Waves, NFCs and all. And I think companies need to understand that there was a good learnings, if not direct wireless power, how new emerging technologies take time to evolve, how much efforts takes in generation 1, generation 2 of those things, and I think that helps a lot.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things which I would say is one of the core companies, I try to understand the company more in person, so that I'm able to say, yes, this company is telling me this information, how much of that I should accept as truth or how much of that. So
kind of your discount rate of the information you're getting, how much do I say what they say is absolutely real versus what they say is a little bit, optimistic or no, this isn't real.
And I think there's a trick out there. Not many analysts I can see. I'm not praising myself, but not many analysts can really do that.
Yeah.
Identify, yes, these are the companies I should take, where it requires validation and not. Otherwise, by now I would have already projected billion units.
Sure.
If I would have gone as per se.
If you add up all of the startup companies out there that say how many hundreds of millions of units they're going to be shipping 3 years from now,
3 years,
we'd
not
be at
1, 2 quarters. They say next quarter, and I said yes, good for you if it does. But I know the realities because I speak to companies across the supply chain, so I know where everybody stands.
Yeah. Well, you don't need to toot your own horn. I'll toot it for you. You're one of my favorite analysts to follow in general, but definitely in the wireless power market. You talk to the companies that are involved, like you said, across the supply chain, whether it's the coil manufacturers, the ferrite manufacturers, the IC companies, the solutions companies, and then really importantly, talking to leading OEMs across a variety of different market segments. Because one of the things that I think is super interesting about wireless power is it really is an enabling technology, but it's not targeted at one specific end segment. You talk a lot in your research about a variety of different segments that you think are going to be driving the growth of wireless power adoption. What are some of those markets that you see as emerging in the adoption curve?
When I started covering wireless power, I was only focusing around 8 to 10 applications because that's where the interest was lying there. Many of them were within the mobile phone ecosystem, not mobile phone, but mobile ecosystem like wearables, smartwatches, phones, and all the stuff.
Yep.
now that wireless power has been trying to become more popular and seen, I'm now covering 30 applications.
Wow.
And they range from automotive segment like electric vehicles,
Sure.
e-bikes, e-scooters, automotive in-cabin to
Yeah.
industrial, medical, retail.
Yeah. So even inside of EV, there's so many variants. You can't just say electric vehicles. There's charging a vehicle like a Tesla.
Yeah.
There's charging a vehicle like a John Deere tractor. Those are very different. There's charging buses. Those
Yeah.
are different.
Yeah.
And then inside the vehicle, charging the
Phones.
charging the headphones.
Yeah.
And then even further inside of the vehicle, maybe it's headlight assemblies. Maybe it's bumper assemblies.
Interiors, yes, car seats,
Absolutely.
or the entertainment system. So I think wireless power will play a very big role in enabling some features which has been difficult to adopt
Yeah.
or to difficult to introduce
Yeah.
altogether in that. So I think it's right timing now.
Yeah.
It's only that the players have to be slightly more mature in terms of what they're delivering. Because what I'm seeing now is many of them are working and they have a solution.
Okay.
But
And
trying to
you're
find a-
talking about
trying to-
wireless power technology providers?
That's right, yeah.
Okay,
They have
that have a
with them,
solution.
but trying to find a problem,
No,
which I think it should be other way around.
Yep.
Because that may help them to really see that getting commercialized.
Yeah.
Because then if you identify a problem, a consumer use cases or a pain points, accordingly work backward and say, yes, this is what the issue is,
Yeah.
and what role wireless power can play in that.
Yeah, we call this square peg round hole syndrome.
Yeah.
And we see this all the time. And well, we don't claim to do everything. We do some high frequency stuff. We do mid frequency stuff like NFC. We
Yeah.
do low frequency stuff like Qi.
Yeah.
What we really try to do is hear what the customers have their need, what their problem is, where they think that they can differentiate their business through a
Yeah.
new solution, and whether what we offer can solve that. But even from the customer's vantage point, oftentimes they come in the door
Yeah.
and they say, oh yeah, I'm going to do wireless power and therefore I'm going to do this Qi solution
Yeah.
because that's what they know to be wireless power.
Yeah.
But then they'll say something like, and I need it to do 30 watts and I need it to be 25 millimeters of separation
Exactly.
and I need it to be 6 devices charging at the same time. And we
Yeah.
say, how much do you really want to do Qi because that's not possible?
Yeah, yeah.
Or are you meaning that you want to do something low frequency, or are
Yeah.
you meaning you actually only care about these specs,
Yeah.
but you'd be willing to do that with something maybe more like an air fuel solution, or more like an NFC solution, or more like a HF solution?
Yeah.
So we really try to understand that, but we do see that even customers come in with kind of like they define the shape of the hole a certain way,
Yeah.
not understanding that they can't really get the solution that way.
Yeah.
So I see it on both sides of the market. Do you see it the same way where the customers and the suppliers are all kind of like trying to define the shape of the solution and the problem independently?
Yeah, I think to a certain level it's happening, but not to the level that one would expect
Okay.
for the market to grow. And again, I think I'll make a point here. I'm not saying this not because you invited me or I'm at New Current, but I think I really like the approach that your company normally does when a customer approaches. Like, when they say that, it's more like, yes, this is not only what you want, but tell us more about why you want.
Yeah, exactly.
That
Why?
comes in then.
Yeah.
I think because you work on multiple technologies within the wireless power space.
Yep.
If I was the OEM and I'd say this is my consumer problem or pain point, I think it's good that the approach comes in that, okay, this is the pain point. Don't tell us what to do. We will tell you. We are the experts.
Okay.
That's a feeling I get sometimes. Then you say, yes, we know what you require. Let us know. We'll see whether low frequency works well or high frequency works well. Within the high frequency, we have 678, 1356. With the low frequency, we have 85 kilowatt solutions, 100 or even 300 like MagSafe. I think that's how what the approach should be.
Yeah.
Because then we are really developing a solution which addresses a problem, not like other way around.
Yep.
Otherwise, wireless charging will just become a feature in a phone rather than being a value add